place is a great venue. I think it's a vital part of the community. I think it ends up being a centre for all sorts of arts and all sorts of cultural events. It's a great little place.
This venue is excellent actually, because it's just a nice space. It is not too big, not too small.
It's a space that everyone can come together again, isn't it? It's somewhere that we can do live events, and it is the largest space I think we've got at the moment. The two main events that I've done here previously, both sets of performers or both bands have been really happy with the space, in the sense of the size of the hall, size of the stage, the freedom sort of height of it all, the fact that it's a different venue to anything they normally do on their tours. That's good feedback, because they always want to come back.
Some of the gigs seemed like bigger. The room all of a sudden would appear bigger than it was, because there's just so many people in there. And the height of the stage as well, I think that probably helped with the acoustics, like you were saying before. I think the fact that the stage was so high and then the speakers had to be raised up in line with that.
I like the sound of the place. I do like the sound of the place. It's a good room for acoustic instruments. If they're mic'd up fairly gently, or if they're quite loud, the room always sounds very good.
There's always a really good vibe in there as well,
yes,
isn't it?
always,
so
always.
Really, everyone was really happy.
Yeah.
Getting on. It was a cool place.
Still is.
I mean, the thing about the youth centre is, in Malvern in general, Malvern is synonymous with music. You know, there's so much music in this town.
There is a high standard of youngsters, there's a high standard of us as older folks, and everything in between as well.
It's the sort of place where you can get that kind of interpersonal interplay, which is just fantastic, really. It's just the best hall in Malvern as far as I'm concerned, especially for music gigs.
Fond recollections of seeing Jethro Tull here for 2 shillings and 6pence, which is quite a long time ago.
Sick Note, saw them recently.
John Cooper Clarke.
The Bunty Boys was one of the first African bands here.
An Asian festival.
Mark Lamar.
Mark Lamar. I'd been doing the tickets on the door, I think, so I got in late and watched the performance from the end of one of the rows near the exit door. And as I could see he was drawing to the end of the first half, I got up to sneak out, mainly to get to the bar first. He saw this, heckled the hell out of me, made me feel about this tall, and still made it to the bar before I did.
The best comedy show I've ever seen was with Russell Howard. It was Adam Montgomery actually who was comparing it. They were talking about tattoos, and my daughter had come along with me, and it was here that she announced that she was going for a tattoo, which was a shock to me. Quite funny for the audience, quite funny for Adam Montgomery, who made a meal of it. But yes, she was going for a new tattoo, a first tattoo, and she did it. Yes, that was quite memorable. And every time I look at her now, I can still see that moment because it's there on her arm.
Harari Dread.
Pete Bog Fairies.
Chicken Shack.
So Chicken Shack played here regularly, and half of that band is now half of Fleetwood Mac, of course, so that was pretty impressive.
The Three Daft Monkeys.
Dub Merge.
Omnia Opera.
Omnia Opera gigs. I've really enjoyed those. I think they always create a really good atmosphere in the audience, and I particularly loved their first comeback gig, and it just felt like everybody was coming out, and not only was everybody coming out, but everybody was coming out dressed in their finery. I remember people turning up in suits and hats, and it was just awesome.
Blessed Ethel, who are a local band, who were just fantastic. I mean, they were you know, at their height, they were really quite a big indie band.
Successfully pulling off a crowd surfing moment at the Blessed Ethel charity gig. I put £1 in the bucket. I am paying for my crowd surf. Do not let me down. And I just took a run up, what up? And they took me right to the back of the hall. It was fantastic. That could have been quite an uncomfortable moment if they'd all just suddenly decided to go. I'd have been smack. And so I'm grateful.
My memories are gone.
Absolutely sold out, huge turnout, but to the point where people were trying to get in and they were actually scaling the roof of the building, and people got in. Some people got in through the toilet roof.
People crawling in and out the windows in the toilets, jumping up and down on the roof.
At the Gong gig, there was this chap who was a skinhead, really sort of bulldog-looking type, and he'd already bitten one of our friends, Tim, who was standing, doing security, bitten him on the tit, and Tim was very upset about this.
I think Tim was bitten on the nipple by a chap called Chaos.
And I also remember linking arms to prevent people molesting David Allen on the stage and being bitten on the left nipple by a very enthusiastic fan who didn't seem to think that I should be preventing him from molesting David Allen's knees.
So various ones of us were called in, and I had to just stand in front of this skinhead and sort of front him down like that. Meanwhile, some fracas breaks out on the stage behind me, and I just see two people fighting, and I grabbed one of them and said, "Come on, you've got to get off the stage." And he said, "But I'm the drummer." It was crazy.
Apparently Deep Purple actually played here in the 60s, although whether it was the Deep Purple we don't know, although it could be. Obviously the 60s is about the time that they started, so it was been probably 67, 68. We came across a ticket for the concert actually underneath the stage amongst piles of rubbish and stuff, so interesting to know whether they actually did play here.
The story that really comes to mind is Rob Plant, of course Led Zeppelin now, who was Rob Plant and the Band of Joy then. I used to book these bands through an agent, and the most we ever paid was, I think, about £35, and it had to finish at 10 or 10:30. Being a youth club, you couldn't go on till midnight or late, so the band had to be here to start at 7, 8 p.m. I think, I can't remember. Well, Rob Plant was late. They were late getting here because their van broke down at Droitwich, and it was a flat-nosed Bedford. I remember the van. It was an old thing. They would have played all night, but we had to stop, and as a result of that I said to Rob Plant, well, you haven't done your full spot because you haven't been here, so I had to dock your money. So instead of him getting £25, I think, I gave him something like £18 because of he couldn't play his full spot, which wasn't my fault obviously, but it was the van's fault. And he was not very happy about that. I remember him standing up by that coffee bar there it's like he had a sheet round his neck, a big sheepskin thing wrapped round it, and he was not very happy at all. And he took the 18 quid and cleared off quickly.
1968, I would imagine, and it was sort of part of the local sort of mod culture. And Jojo Cook were playing, and they had quite a strong mod following. They played sort of Tamla and Motown and a bit of ska thrown in. And about 60 mods from the local area all turned up in their fine scooters, with all the mirrors and chrome. They're all parked in a row along the grass verge outside.
I just think you should get as many people as you can in here because it's a really good venue.
I'd like a lot of new young artists come and perform here, and as there's been in the past, a lot of performers have come here, such as Joe Brand and they've been up and coming artists, and from there on it's actually launched them. So I think I'd like to encourage a lot of young people to come with their bands or shows and just put something on here.
I'd like to see Dreadzone back. There's some good reggae bands that I've seen at little festivals that I thought would fill the space quite well. And considering I know Malvern's got a bit of a heart for it, I think get the reggae back. Two-tone
bands, they would be really good in here. Really, really good. And any good reggae band.
Jeff Beck. But it's probably a little small for him.
Can we have James Arthur from the X Factor? He's my new favourite at the moment. I'd love that. I'd really love it if we could have James Arthur coming and performing.
There's a folk singer who's extremely good and who's played here a couple of times. He's called Jack Harris, and he's very young but extremely good. Proficient, way beyond his years.
Who would like to see play here are A personal favourite of mine would be RDF. I'd also like to see the Buzzcocks playing here.
As for comedians, it would be lovely to get the likes of Eddie Izzard or Jack D back here.
Edmondson and the Bad Shepherds is something that would be quite nice. Loads of bands, loads of variety, loads of different acts.
Malvern Cube, get down, get lucky at the Malvern Cube. The Malvern Cube, get down, get lucky at the Malvern Cube. I hitched my horse to the Malvern Hills, got down and polished the saddle. I looked around and felt quite lost upstream without a paddle. I hitched my heels to the Malvern horse, got down and polished the beacon. But down in the valley far below, there's fun to be had if you're seeking the Malvern Cube, the Malvern Cube. Get down, get lucky at the Malvern Cube. The Malvern Cube, the Malvern Cube. Get down, get lucky at the Malvern Cube. I hitched my life to Worcestershire, got down and polished the veg. I kissed the girls and made them cry, now I like to trim the hedge. I hitched my life to Herefordshire when the boundary it did move. And there's fun to be had in them there hills if you know how to groove. The Malvern Cube, the Malvern Cube. Get down, get lucky at the Malvern Cube. The Malvern Cube, the Malvern Cube. Get down, get lucky at the Malvern Cube. From community centre to Malvern Cube, it's good to see the locks off. And you've worked hard to get this far, and some have worked their socks off. In this place, this town, this heart that beats, we finally made next level. It's up to all of us from here. It's ours to make more special. The Malvern Cube, the Malvern Cube. Get down, get lucky at the Malvern Cube. The Malvern Cube, the Malvern Cube. Get down, get lucky.